Well, hey guys, so let's continue on using Adobe After Effects. Today we're going to be talking about how we can use compositions to create some sort of simple animations that end up looking a little more complex. So let's go here into just creating a new project. I'm going to real quick go over here to Window Workspace, choose Default, and I'm just going to go ahead and reset Default to Save Layout, just so we know we're all looking at the same thing. I might close a few of these tabs here or there, but honestly, this should be pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and create a new composition. We're going to create 3 compositions one after the other. So I'm going to start off with the first one. I'm going to say this one will be like the final frame. We'll call this one final frame, and I'm going to change the width and height to about we'll say 1080 pixels across by 1080 pixels tall. This is generally the frame that would occur in most of social media pictures like Instagram or a few others, 1080 pixels across, and like, so that this is like the sort of maximum, or sort of default ratio here, usually kind of a 1-to-1 thing. I'm going to change the frame rate to 60 frames a second, and I'm going to change the duration to about 5 seconds, just flat. Now the background color, once again, I need to remind you guys, this is absolutely nothing. This is nothing at all. This is just to show you where you are in comparison to the rest of like the frame here. So we'll call that one final frame right there, and we'll have this hanging out here. Let's just go over here to fit so we can see that this is a square inside this little environment here. I'm going to right click over here, new composition. And we're gonna be creating a little cityscape, right? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create some mountains in the background. So I'm gonna call this one mountains. I'm gonna increase the width from 1080 pixels to 1280 pixels, and I'll keep everything else the same. I'll press OK. And I'm going to go ahead and close out one of these. I'll close these out as we go through. I'm going to right click another one called New Composition. And I'm going to go over here to, I'm going to call this one City 1. Actually, I'm going to say, I'll call this one Background City. And I'll change this from 1280 to, let's say, for instance, how about 1480. And we'll keep everything else the same. And then we're going to make a new composition, and we'll call this one Foreground City. And we'll make this one maybe, how about, I don't know, like 1680 pixels across. All right. And press OK. All right, so what we're trying to achieve here is an effect called parallax. Parallax essentially means that you've got multiple sort of speeds at which things are kind of going past as you get further and further into the background. So this is why we made each one of these things just slightly bigger than the other. Okay, so let's start off with mountains. I'm going to go over here to mountains, and I'm going to just zoom out a little bit, say for instance 50%, so I can see everything. I'm going to get my pen tool here, and I don't have anything down here, so I should just go ahead and create a shape layer as soon as I hit this down. I'm just going to click off screen once, and I'm just going to click once, and I'm just going to click anywhere once, twice, 3 times. I'm going to create sort of semblance of mountains kind of going on here. Just little spiky hills, and it doesn't necessarily matter. You can even like do a little mini peak up like that, whatever. Doesn't matter like precisely where they're going, and you can end it like kind of off this way, then whatever, right? And then I'm going to go down around the screen here like so, and we'll call it that, right? So if we look up to the side here, we can kind of see we've got these little mountains sort of. If you don't like the way this looks, what you can do is you can go down here to this website here, color.adobe.com, and you can go over here to Explore, click on the Explore tab, and look up, say for instance, some kind of palette here. So maybe I want this to be happening during sunset. And I look at a sunset picture here, and what you can do is you can kind of just click on any of these things here. So I like this right here, so I'll just click on this. And what I'll do is I'll just go over here to my AE file. I'll click on Fill, and it has this little hexadecimal code down here. If you go back over, you can actually just click on this and copy this, and then paste it right here. So I'll paste that right there. I'll make these mountains blue. Well, let's actually select the layer first. And do the same thing. Control V. There you go. Good. So now that blue here. All right. So we'll just leave that there for now, right? That's hanging out there. And let's go over here to Background City. Let's click on Background City. And I'm going to create some sort of little buildings here. I'm going to get my pen tool. I'm going to keep my pen tool. I'm going to click on, I'm going to hold down the shift button, and I'm going to select, I'm going to make these sort of skinny rectangles kind of happening like this. Don't make them very big, and vary the size and the kind of closeness from time to time. And we'll just kind of continue kind of popping in these. If you hold down shift, it's going to constrain it to a, shall we say, like 90-degree angle. Vary the heights, and don't make it like a thing where like it gets taller and taller as it goes by. Definitely, you know, keep that going here. Let's think here. Oops, let me back up a little bit. I can put this right here. I'll make this maybe a fatter building here, and well, I'll alternate this. I'll make this taller, and this one shorter, and maybe I'll even like put in another tall one here. Obviously, you can make this look whatever way you want. And again, you can always trace a cityscape that you find online. Let me zoom out some. And we should have a fully formed little city skyline here. All right, so there's that. I'm going to go back over here to my palette. I'll make maybe this like a different color. I'll copy this. I'll come back over here, and I'll just paste this in to... Well, let's actually select the layer first, and then we'll paste this in. All right, cool. All right, so there's that. All right, fun. All right, so for foreground city, let's grab foreground city. Let's double click on that. All right, so we can open that up. Oh, I drew the mountains in the foreground. I'm going to Control X this, and I'm going to Control V it over here, and I'll just shrink it down some. Put this right about here. Let's say. All right, cool. All right, so there we go. So I got my mountains in my mountains layer. Let's go back to foreground city. Okay, foreground city. I'm going to make these buildings. One, I'm going to make them a little lower to the bottom of the screen here, and then I'm going to also make them a good deal bigger. So I'll make fewer buildings. So over here in background city, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 buildings hanging out here. So in this case, I might make like half as many in the foreground city. So I'll make like 5 or so. So again, I'm going to make them very close to the bottom of the screen here. Get to G on the keyboard for your pen tool, and I'll just click once. Let's think here. Let's try this again. G. Here we go. Hold down shift while I do this. I'll make these a good deal fatter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll make one pointy. And we'll... All right, cool. All right, neat. Okay, so now we've got our foreground city, our background city, our mountains all all made up. Let me just real quick change the color of this. I'll get this orange color here, and I'll go over here to my After Effects. I'll just click on Fill, and I'll Control V, paste that. So now that's, oh, once again, let me click on this and then paste it. All right, cool. All right. Fun. Okay, so now let's get our final frame. Let's open that up, and we can close out the other compositions here. And I'm going to pull down my mountains. So my mountains will be hanging out there, and you can already tell they're bigger than the frame itself. That's fine. I'm going to pull down my background city, and you can just pull it out anywhere. It'll automatically go to the top. Oh, no, I'll put that. I'll make sure that's in front, and then I'm going to pull down my foreground city. Put that on top. And then what I'll do is I'm going to adjust where they're located so I can see them a bit better. So I think my background city is fine where it is. I'm going to get my mountains. I'm going to hit P for position. I'm going to pull that up a little bit. Let me just back this up just slightly so I can see where everything is. 50% here. I'll get my mountains just up a little bit so I can see them a bit better. Even though they're not touching the bottom, it's okay. All right. Okay, cool. So let's get everything aligned to the side. I'm going to select everything at the same time. I'm going to go over here to align, and I'm going to align the layers to the composition. And I'm going to put them over here at this little align left. So now they're all on the side there, right? And I'm going to go over here. I'm going to highlight everything, P for position, and I'm just going to hit a little keyframe there. Okay, so this is 5 seconds long. I'm going to move this over here to about 2.5 seconds. So it should be 2:15, since, no, 2:30 right here, 2:30, it's at 60 frames a second, so 2:30, and I'm going to, with my position still activated here, I'm going to align it to the right now, and then I'll make a new keyframe there, and then I'm going to pull it over here to the end, the 5-second mark, and I'm going to align it to the right again. So when we watch this, watch what happens. All right, you can kind of see there's a subtle little difference in terms of how they move. The right side, the foreground moves slightly faster, and the background city moves a little bit faster, and then the mountains move slower than everything else, right? So that's a little, it's an effect we call parallax. All right, so once again, this right here is nothing. This is just nothing. This is just a background here. Let's make one more composition. Let's new composition here, and let's just make it the same size as the background here, 1080. And I'm going to call this, let's rename this. I'll rename this one Sky. Okay, so I'm going to right click on here, say New Solid. And as far as the solid goes, I'm going to go down here to my color picker. I'm going to find a color for my sky. I'll make it this sort of pale orange color, say. And let's go over here and we'll just paste that in. Well, actually, let's just make sure we actually get something that works here. Copy this pale orange right here. And let's paste. There we go. Press OK. And then I'm going to get. I'm gonna make a little sun. So I'll just go down here, layer, new shape layer, and then I'm gonna get my circle tool. Like click this little rectangle here. Hold down the button and get your ellipse tool here, or you could press, I guess, Q on the keyboard. And I'm going to create a circle, and I'm going to make sure there's no stroke on it, and I'm going to color it this last little color here that I found, this little yellow color here. Let's go down here, and we'll just change the fill to this new color here. Okay, so let's go down here to contents. Let's just go down here to contents. Let's find ellipse 1, and let's just go down here to the contents of ellipse 1, and we'll click on fill. Let me pull this up a little bit so we can see it a bit better. And I'm going to change the opacity to 20%, which is going to make this a little bit paler. So now I'm going to duplicate this 5 times. Let's go over here to the ellipse 1, press Control D, which is going to duplicate that ellipse inside the contents. It's still on the same layer, but we're going to have 5 of these ellipses, which is going to create this effect this is going to basically create this this sort of effect that this is going to be fully opaque in the center, but we're going to make a little bit of an array here. So I'm just going to real quick go to Layer, Transform, and go to Center Anchor Point in Layer Content here. And for this one, I'm just going to real quick get the path here, and I'm going to increase the size slightly. Say, let's think here. Let's undo what we just did here. Let's hit 278 right now. I'll add like 30 to it, so I'll be 308 here, and then I'll go down to ellipse 4, and I'll add under the path 60 to it, so 338, and then I'm going to go down here to the next one, ellipse 3, and I'll add 90 to this, so this will be 368, and then ellipse 2, I'll add 120 to it, so it'll be 398. All right, and so now we have this little kind of sunbeam with some stuff kind of hanging out to this little kind of little gradient here, kind of put into it there. So that's kind of fun. All right, so with that being said, what we'll do now is we're going to add a little bit of an animation to the sun here. Let me just real quick center it in the composition. I'm gonna actually pull it up a little bit here because it's gonna be kind of like hanging out behind the mountains here. And I'm gonna make this bob up and down. So let me hit position right here for just where it's hanging out right now. I'm gonna advance forward. This is at the 0 mark. I'm gonna go forward just slightly here, maybe like so in this case half a second. So I'll go for like 15 frames, and I'll pull it down slightly, and then I'll go back over here to 30 seconds, and I'll just copy this little keyframe here, Control C, Control V right there. And so now it'll just kind of go down, come up like that, right? I can even slow it down some. I just pull over for like 1 second here, and make it go down and up after the course. Well, that's fine. Half a second. Well, this. All right. And then I'll just select all this stuff here, and I'll just F9 on the keyboard just to smooth out the animation some. And we can kind of see it happening like this. All right, so I want this to loop. I don't want to add a bunch of keyframes though, so I'm just going to hold down the Alt key and click on this little stopwatch here, which is going to create this little expression thing to happen. If I click on this little arrow right here, go to Property and find the Loop Out Duration, it should loop it out the entire time. So it just bobs up and down the entire time. So that's a good way, easy way of looping your animations. Back to Final Frame, grab your sky, drag it to the background here. And we can just sort of see that little sun bobbing up and down right there as it goes, right? And so the sun doesn't move because it's the biggest thing of all. There you go, cool stuff, right? So obviously get your get your palette the way you want it to look. Let's go ahead and export it as an MP4. So let's go to Export, Add to Media Encoder Queue. All right, we'll just pull this, hit play here. And once you get that created, let's just open up and take a look at it. Just make sure there's no jerky moments. So you gotta make sure it repeats seamlessly when you're done. We'll just click on this. Let's see how it goes. Let's just repeat this real fast. Put this on repeat. There you go. Pretty seamless. The 60 frames a second makes the animation a little bit more smooth. And obviously, if you had this, so go ahead and convert this to a GIF. Just Google a little animated GIF thing. You probably want to scale it down a little bit when you finally convert it, but there you go. All right, cool. Well, can't wait to see you guys produce. See you guys in class.